Let's start with the simple question. Who was Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, and how do you want the American public to remember your dad?
You want to take this one?
Yeah, Lorenzo Salgado Araujo was a proud father, a man who took pride in his work, a man who always came home to his wife. He was a man who loved music. He was a man who always had a tune in him, always had a song in his mind, always had a song in his heart.
He always whistled.
He was always whistling or singing when he would get home from work. He was a man who would put in honest, hard weeks of work and look forward to the weekends to spend time at home with his family. And you know, this week I've heard a lot about people that have known my father that I didn't even know about. And it just reinforces the idea that the man I knew as a dad was a good man to other people. And getting to learn that over this past week, I wish it didn't have to happen the way that it did, but it has really reinforced my idea that obviously everyone thinks their dad is great, but seeing everyone's response it's really illuminating, and it's really opened a whole new world of understanding for who my father is, where he came from, and all the lives that he impacted, whether they know it or not. Someone may be living in the house that he built. And so, yeah, he was to me, great man, and this week has really heartened that for me.
Ronaldo?
Yeah, this is a man who came from a very humble beginnings in Mexico, a man whose education was not as high as others would like it for it to be. He came here to this country in order for a better life for himself and to establish something for his future kids. And well, now here we are. He emphasized education a lot. He always told us that he doesn't want us to grow up like him, to be putting in hours in the hot sun, to be doing back-breaking labor because, he was okay doing that for us, but he doesn't want us to be doing that for our kids. He always told us, you should get a job indoors in an office with AC. He was a man who loved soccer, his favorite team, Las Chivas de Guadalajara. He was a big fan of them since the beginning. One of my very first memories is just, wearing a Chivas jersey, watching the game. I didn't understand much of it, but I understood that he loved it, and he loved those red and white stripes. He was a man who was full of routine. He did the same thing every day and never really complained about it. Woke up early before the rest of the world did. Took with him a lunchbox with very delicious food that my mom cooked. Every time that he would get into his van just before pulling out of the driveway, he would say a little prayer and he would do the cross. This is a man who just wanted to work, and he wanted to put others to work. There's been many, many times where people would knock on our door when we were young, and it'd be a guy asking for a job, and my dad gave him a chance because he believed in this land being the land of opportunities, and he wanted people to achieve the American dream just like he gave us the opportunity to achieve the American dream, to become college educated, to become family men of good character, good qualities, and that's who my dad was.
And he came to the U.S. more than 30 years ago.
Correct.
It's a long time.
Very long time. More than half his life.
What did he think about the U.S., about living here?
He was drawn by the promise that in America if you put in the work, you'll get paid what you deserve. And the idea that in America you can build yourself up from nothing to become someone and to give your family a better future. And I think he really thought fondly of the United States. Every time we talked to him, it was he would express like being thankful about what we have going, our education, our current careers, and knowing that the U.S. is that land that gave us that opportunity was something that he never forgot, and something that he instilled in us to be proud of. And I am proud.
I know it's only been a week since the fatal shooting of your dad, but what do you think you will miss the most about him?
What we would have missed the most about him?
I just miss his presence, knowing that he's there, a phone call away.
Yeah.
And
He always made time for us.
and you know, knowing that at the end of the day, my mom would have her companion back, and me, I left Houston for college and then never really moved back, and it was always a really strong feeling for me because we were raised to be very family centric, and you know, just loving our parents and wanting the best for them too, as much as they wanted the best for us. It felt nice that I knew my mom was being supported, and I knew my dad was being supported by my mom, and just losing that presence is I'm not sure how to describe it.
I mean, for me,
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss. I'm gonna miss his laugh. He had an infectious laugh. He had an infectious laugh that, you know, it was loud. It was resounding. It was something. I always miss seeing his hats. He wore a lot of hats to work. He wore one every day. I miss seeing him, you know, just lying around, and there would be times where I would be driving just around, and I would see him driving past me, and you know, we always wave at each other. I was always flash our lights to say hello, and I always recognize him because his van was, you know, it's a van that we've grown up seeing since, you know, we were born. I mean, he's had different vans, and there was always a way to figure out if it was him. He was always wearing a hat. So I'm really gonna miss that.
Yeah, not seeing vans, you know, when we're driving around.
Oh, yeah.
For a split second, I have to remind myself that it's not him.
When you see a van,
When I see a white van down the street, yeah,
and that was the vehicle he was driving when he was fatally shot.
it was the vehicle he went to work in every morning, and that morning he was in that van.
Let's go back to last week. How did you learn that your father had been shot and killed?
So I was here in Houston. I was out the door within 5 minutes when my mom told me something was wrong. We first went up to the job site to see if, you know, we had spotted the van. At this point, no one knew where he was. We searched the job site an hour away, and I was looking on Facebook page, the Southeast HTX neighborhood news page, and someone was saying, "Hey, what's going on the intersection of Wayside and Canal?" And that's very close to home, very, very close to where we grew up. Someone said it's some ICE activity, and I thought, you know what, it can't be, but you know, let's go check it out. I was there. I saw the street blocked off. I saw a van with the door swung wide open. I immediately knew it was my dad's van, just based on seeing it basically every day.
And this was after a morning of just driving frantically for an hour, 2 hour back.
Yeah, and just knowing that he was like 10 minutes away from where we grew up, I'm like, I should have been there sooner. Whenever I got to the scene, I wasn't allowed to approach the van at all. My intent was to retrieve the van so that I can take it up to the job site so the work can be done. It's what my dad would have wanted. Even if he had been detained, he would have wanted the van to be taken to his workers to finish the houses.
At that point, did you know your father had been shot?
I did not know. It wasn't until I checked again and someone posted a video of someone on the ground yelling for help, and I recognized the voice. It was
You
my
did?
dad. yeah, and seeing it on video and I still hear that sound in my head of him screaming for help. It's something that I'll never forget, but if it were not for the Facebook page, I wouldn't have known that it was him. Someone did tell me that someone was shot, and I just didn't want to believe that it was my dad until I saw the video. I had held out hope that he was still alive. People can survive gunshot wounds, but and my
We
dad,
knew he was strong.
he's a strong man, physically strong man.
Works construction.
Yeah, construction job.
He would work out too, right?
He did push-ups at the job site to keep up with his physical regimen. His supervisor on site is this very, very muscular guy, and my dad would, every chance he got, he would get on the floor and do a couple push-ups to see if he can get the muscles like the guy had. And this guy is strong. He never really complained about pain, and I knew he was going through some pain, in his day-to-day. I mean, when you put in decades of hard labor, it does a toll to your body, but he never complained. So when I saw that he was shot, in my heart was, he's alive. That's what I thought. Like, he's moving, he's alive, he's yelling, he's gonna come back from this. I'm gonna go find him, and I'm gonna be able to at least see him and apologize that I didn't get there sooner, but no one would tell me anything. So I waited and waited to the police because there was a possibility of them turning the van over to me. I didn't know that at that point that the FBI was considering it a scene, that they wouldn't release it, but I was willing to stay there for hours.
Ronaldo, when you saw that video of your father on the ground screaming, how did you feel?
I felt surprised. At first I felt relieved because, I saw my dad, and then I felt scared because I seen that he'd been shot. He was actively bleeding. He was screaming for someone to help him. I just felt a lot of fear at that point, and I was running around the site trying to look for answers, but those answers never came.
Lorenzo, when you saw that video, what went through your mind?
So I don't live in Houston, so I'm at a distance, and being at a distance, I knew there wasn't really much I could do in terms of actionable things. I was at home that morning, and I got a call from my mom telling me that something had happened, and I remember frantically calling hospitals and being really afraid because I had heard that something had happened, and I had seen the video, and I recognized him immediately by his yells, and it was a blur, really, that morning, because I really thought that he would be okay, and I flew in that afternoon because I knew there would be tasks ahead of time, and being able to maybe see my father later that evening at the hospital was really my goal. Once I got on that plane, and once I was on that plane, I knew that the person shot had been transported to the hospital, and they were performing CPR on them. And and that's all I knew up until I got onto the plane. And maybe an hour into the flight, I opened the same article that reported that the person had been shot. In the middle of the flight, and then flight Wi-Fi, I had the article updated to read shot, killed. And I remember the woman I was sitting next to, I didn't want her to know that I think my dad had just died. I was going back and forth between the bathroom to clear my nose. And I really tried to stop the tears from falling because I didn't want anyone's attention. I really just wanted to get home and be with my family, regardless of whether the reports were true or not. And that's where my mind was. My mind was to be with my family and hopefully seeing my dad later that evening.
But you couldn't say goodbye to your dad.
I did not say goodbye to my father.
Ronaldo,
Yes.
when you learned that your father had died, what immediately went through your mind? What were you thinking about? Were you angry, sad? Was it a combination of emotions?
It was a combination of emotions, for sure. I didn't know what to do, you know? No one really prepares for anything like this. I felt anger, for sure. My dad had been taken away from us. I felt guilt because I should have been there sooner. I thought I could, save him or at least see him one last time. I felt sadness for my mother because she had just lost a partner that she's been with for 40 years since they were kids. And I felt that I now had this mission to carry on the family, to be strong for my family as the oldest. I basically put upon this responsibility for myself to take care of my mom, to take care of my youngest brother. So I felt that I couldn't necessarily cry at the moment because I was needed with my family. I needed to be working to get answers. And, so yeah, I felt that this was a responsibility that I needed to take care of.
What has been the most difficult and painful part of this entire situation for you? Lorenzo.
I think just accepting that he's never going to come back. I'm not sure I'll ever accept that. But I have to, and I know I've really been hardened by everyone's response, and I've seen my mom slowly gain strength based off of the small amount that she's seen, because she hasn't opened any social media, she hasn't seen any TV. Everything that she's heard has been from us. And so managing my dad's absence and helping my mom stay strong and help her understand that there's people behind us, and we're so grateful for all the community support that we've received. It's been invaluable to us in terms of keeping us going, because we definitely couldn't do this alone.
Of course not. For me, I'm always going to feel some sort of guilt that I could have been there sooner, that I could have done something. I fear that I will always live with that guilt. Because who knows what would have happened if I had been there, or if I had arrived at the scene much sooner. I will always think about that. And it's just a lot of guilt.
Ronaldo and Lorenzo, what does justice look like for you in this case?
The first step is to continue pushing for a independent, transparent investigation. That is the first step to obtain any form of justice.
It really is a difficult question. I think we'll have justice when my mom feels ready to go outside without fear, when people don't have to live in shadows. And of course, the first step there, like my brother said, is completing an investigation, completely transparent and in full. And I think that's the very first step.
Have you received answers to the questions that you have about your father's killing so far?
Not at the moment.
No.
Not enough to satisfy my mom.
To defend its immigration policies, the Trump administration routinely says that ICE is targeting the worst of the worst. Based on what you guys just told me, it does not sound like your dad fit that description.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That, no.
Doesn't align with who we know him to be.
This is a man with the utmost respect to people, to the law, utmost respect to his workers and families. That doesn't sound like the man I know. What, you know.